Hello and welcome back to day 26 of 30 Days to Learn Photoshop. This is the course project Photo Manipulation. My name is Ben Gribbin, and in today's lesson we're going to put into practice the tools and principles we've learned so far to edit a photograph as we wish. So let's have a look first at the photograph we are going to make. So as you can see here, it appears to be a very normal house in the country with a nice tree next to it. That's fine. However, it didn't start life looking anything like that. In fact, if we revert back to our original two images we used to create this document, we used a tree that we purchased from photojune.net and also this house graphic photo that we purchased from photojune.net. And you will notice there's a slight difference in the two. There isn't a tree in the garden, but there's a big tractor, and it's also only a two-story house, whereas we have now got basically a mansion. We've turned it into a three-story mansion, and we did this using very simple Photoshop tools that we've already talked about and discussed, and we've just combined them, and we've used a couple of adjustment layers and effects to be able to create a much brighter, more colourful image that is very different from the original image. So we're going to talk you through now how we did it, and we're going to show you how it all works. So the first thing you need to do is start a new document, and because we're going to be working off a photograph layer, we can basically just use this house as our base. So we're going to open it up into Photoshop like so, and I'm just going to change the canvas size very slightly because we're going to be expanding the height of the house. We just want a little bit more room to work with. So if we go to height, set it to relative, so it's going to work upwards, and we're going to just do height. We'll add another 1000 pixels on just so we can got a little bit more space up there, and don't worry about it being red, we'll just delete that. We need to unlock the background layer, and we'll use the magic wand tool to select that red that we didn't want and remove it. So this is going to be our base layer. We've got the house, we've got the tractor. We'll bring the tree in later on and we'll show you how we combine the two. So I think it's going to be best to start by going round and cutting out the top half of the house that we want to use. Now we are going to have to do this quickly. We did spend a little bit more time when we did it before, just so that we can show you how it all works. So we're going to do roughly above this window, and we would use the polygonal lasso tool, or you could use the pen tool as we showed you to do a more accurate mask. And we're literally just aiming here to select the top part of the image. Don't worry if you've got a little bit of the sky in, it's not a problem. Or alternatively, you could go and mask this out to the pixel level, depending on how accurate you want it to be. So we're just going to go around the entire image like so. We're going to cut out the bits that we want, and we're just doing this a little bit quickly, just so that we can show you in real time how it all went together, although the real image did take slightly longer than one of these lessons would allow. So we're going to go around just following the outline of the house. We're going to cut it off roughly halfway down somewhere, so let's just go around the curve here. And one thing you will notice, the difference between the polygon tool is you're going to have to click a lot more on curves like that than you would do on a pen tool masking. So let's just cut across, straight across here to the first line we started, leaving the first floor windows in position. It does take a little bit of practice knowing where and what to copy out and things, so that's going to be something that will come with time. So we've highlighted this rough area. We're going to copy it and we're going to paste it, and we're going to raise up the roof of the house somewhere to there, and you'll notice we've now got basically a duplication of the bottom and the top of the house, which is what we're going to remove. And then we're going to utilize some of these windows, drain pipes, and elements that we already have in the selection to remove and erase these parts. So let's just start over on the left then. We're going to use the marquee tool to mark off where we believe the start of the house would be, so roughly there. We're going to go back to the first layer because this is what we want to work on, and we're going to go to the clone stamp tool. We're going to set it to quite a big head, nice and soft, 0% hardness, and we're just going to clone this sky here, and we're going to remove that part of the roof. Now if we zoom out, you'll see there is a bit of an outline, a bit of a mark where the roof would actually be. So we're going to soften that up by blurring it with the smudge tool, or smudging it with the smudge tool, and blurring up the area. Careful not to go over here, because you'll notice, look, it's blurring part of the wall. It's blurring part of the wall onto there, so we don't want to do that. Stay away from any elements that are near the edge. And then when we zoom out now, hopefully that transition is pretty much seamless. So that's what we're aiming for. Here's a quick trick to be able to duplicate areas of a wall and just drag them straight up. Using the marquee tool, we're going to select from the edge of the building, so there. We're going to drag literally a 1 or 2 pixel line across, and that's fine. Then we're going to use the transform tool on that selection. So we've made the selection, we're going to drag it upwards now, and this is going to do a quick continue of the sort of contours of the house. It's going to keep the same overall colour. Sometimes it might stretch out some of the pixels and leave you a line, so don't worry about that. Just go over them and blur them out, smudge them, whatever you need to do. And you can see what we've done there is we've deleted the roof. So let's just edit undo again, like that. We've just literally wiped out the roof, utilising pixels and elements that were already in our image. So we haven't actually really created anything from nothing there. Press OK on that, remove the selection, and you can see we've extended that wall. And that's generally the process we're going to be doing, really. We're just going to be removing elements that are here, reusing elements that are here, and using a variety of tools to do that. Now, that little trick will work again over here on our windows, so let's do the same thing. Let's select an area, drag it upwards, and we've essentially removed our windows there. Unfortunately, because this house has been pretty decent picture taken, there are not really any blemishes that are stretching out with our selections there. So let's just go over the area and blur it out as you would do if you had lines or drag lines which were from sort of pebble dashing on the wall or whatever. So we've deleted that. We're going to do the same thing down here, which might be a little bit more tricky. We might do it in stages, this one. So let's just do this kind of selection here. Again, drag it upwards, removing that part of the house. And you can see, because we've gone straight upwards with the copy of our roof, it's all lining up perfectly. So we did a shift and drag when we aligned this, so it didn't go off. It just snapped to that line, and we were able to go straight upwards with it. You can see this one has got the kind of lines and drag lines that we were mentioning, so that's good, because now we can show you how to remove them. But we'll just go ahead and finish off our masking of this, and we can use the drain pipe there because it's got the shadow on. It will literally go, oop, let's not move that. We can drag it straight up like so, and you can see it's continued the shadow of our line there, and that works absolutely perfectly. And then finally, we're just going to select as close to the edge of this part here as we can get, because we want some of this colour, but we don't want that drain pipe. So we're going to do a selection, and then we're going to move it. What we did there was we used the marquee tool, drew the line as normal. When we'd create the selection, if you click onto your selection, you notice the icon changes, and that allows you to then drag it round. And also we might have to resize it here, so go to select, transform selection. Let's set it to super thin. Oops, I think we did it too thin there. Let's go to select, transform selection. Let's set the height to 50%. And you might get an error sometimes if you haven't actually selected enough. So if you've selected less than a pixel, it won't actually work. So this area here is going to cause a bit of an issue, because when we copied it from the original house, we were unable to, or we didn't select enough of this wall. Not a problem. Go into your top layer, get your clone tool, and set the head a little bit smaller than we had it before. And just clone some of this wall colour. Try and do it so you're going directly above. You're dragging down, basically. Your clone source is directly above where you are dragging down, and that's just going to help maintain the sort of vertical colours and minimise banding when we do this. And again, we're going to do it over on this wall here. Let's just keep cloning in some of this wall. We might have to borrow some of the colour from over here, and then we want to try and maintain that line as much as possible. So we're going to mask off just an imaginary line, inverse that selection, so now we're painting up to that line, and then when we clone in like this, it will create a line for us. So now you can see we've got more of some lines to copy, so we can just do that now by highlighting an area. This time it's on the top layer, so just bear that in mind when you are getting confused a little bit with layers, whatever. Drag it down. You can see it's done a pretty decent job. We're going to probably need to tweak this one here because it is a little bit soft and messy down here, and that might be because of our original image. Yes, it is. It's just because of some of the original image poking through there. So let's go to the top layer, paint up the bottom just like this, and we're going to continue doing that, and then we are getting very close to having a nice solid wall with no elements on it. We're going to just remove this using the clone tool because it's a bit quicker. We're going to do it from the top layer, and also let's do it from the bottom as well, so we get a nice blend. And make sure you do blend layers together as best as you can. Here we've got a bit of mess, so you could either blur it, but we want a nice sharp selection, so we're going to smudge it, which allows us to actually smudge a layer in straight lines like so. If you go one way, that'll help with keeping the colours from creeping. And then, oh, just clicked on the wrong tool there. Just undo that. You're going to make a lot of use of the undo tool for sure. So that looks pretty decent now. That line there we're getting is purely from banding. So we need to repair the banding on this part of our wall, and we'll do that by going onto the blur tool. So the blur tool is going to help us remove some of this banding. We can use the strength setting as well to make sure we are actually blurring things very well, and we can do it on the side here. And yes, it's a bit of our original image poking through there. So again, clone tool, and we're going to just do it on a horizontal level. We're going to do a source from there, and then literally we can just drag that upwards and down, and then we can continue removing out any parts we don't want. And let's just repair this part of the image here because it has gone a bit funny for some reason. So we're just using the clone tool as we have done. A little bit rushed here because we are trying to show you as much as we can in this lesson. So let's say that's repaired, and then more blurring, more smudging, a little bit of playing around just to tidy up the image, and you can see we've just managed to reveal some of the layer underneath. It's just a process of going through, being methodical, working around your image to remove, delete, and manipulate the areas of your image that you need to do. So we're going to show you now how we added the windows. We're going to do the front windows, and all you need to do is literally highlight one of the windows using the polygon lasso tool. You can take some of the background with you. That's always going to be a little bit helpful when you're blending it in. Copy it from whichever layer it's on, which in this case it was on our top layer, and then we're going to drag it down. Now when we zoom out, you'll notice the perspective is off considerably, so we're going to need to skew this layer. So go to edit, transform, skew, and then tweak the lines of the window till it aligns with this one in sort of more of a parallel line. And it is a literal case of just using your eye, sizing it up, working out what looks good, and then if we zoom out now, hopefully that should look a lot more natural, which it does. The bottom needs some transformation applying to it, so let's just do that again. Very slight tweaking the bottom, something like that. Zooming out, using your eye to just gauge whether that works well or not, and then we can go ahead and duplicate that layer. So we've got an exact duplication. That would again need a little bit more skewing and changing to sort out the perspective. But that's how in general we added those windows. Over here you can see we've got a bit of a funny setup. So again, It's just a case of grabbing a selection from the top and just dragging it down. So we're going to remove this window completely, and then we'd use the same process on the window we did over there to copy the window, tweak its perspective. We could blur this out again just to remove some of these bands that are very faint, but it's the little details that make objects like this much more realistic and looking a lot less like they were edited in Photoshop. So then finally we're going to go and add our tree onto here. So if we go back to our image, you can see we've got a tree which is quite clearly not there in real life, and that is utilising our secondary image here, this tree that we purchased from PhotoJune. So let's go ahead and open it up in Photoshop. If you get any warnings like this, just press OK, that's fine. And you notice we dragged it straight from Preview, which is a Mac program, but this probably works on Photoshop on Windows. Just grab your image, drag it into the document, and it will open it as a new layer. So we've got our image into the document we want. We need to pull it to the right place. So let's drag the layer upwards, and then it's on top where we need it, and we can literally go and roughly position it where we want. We're going to use the lasso tool, the freeform one here, because we're going to show you a little trick with blending modes. If you were to mask out this tree by hand using the lasso tool, the polygonal lasso tool, or the pen tool, it would take literally days. So what you're going to do is you're just going to do a very rough selection around the edge. We're actually going to maintain some of the sky because this is going to help sell this effect. So you notice it's a very, very rough, gone a bit too much there maybe, selection of the tree, making sure we get all the branches included. So we're just going round, selecting all the twigs. Don't clip off any short like that, because that's going to create an issue, and we'll show you what that does if you've done that. So just going round like so. Down here, just being kind of close to the tree as we can. I know it's a little bit difficult to tell because we've got this other bush that's in the way. So let's just go around, select some of the snow, whatever it is down here, and let's do select inverse and delete the rest of the sky we don't want there. So we can drag it in now, position it, and let's keep it at that size because I think it looks pretty sized well against the house. It's going to be set back in the background, so that's fine. And now we're going to change the blending mode to darken, and you can see there, like magic, it removes this sky from our previous file but keeps the tree. So that's all good. Now we just need to remove the part of the tree we don't want. However, you'll notice the light direction is coming from a different way on this tree, so we need to flip it round. We need to go and click on here and type in, if you put a minus next to the width, it will do a quick flip round, and now you can see all our light sources are uniform, which is all part of the detail, all part of making it more, selling the effect more. So let's delete this part of the tree overlapping the house, like so, and then we need to work on removing the tractor. But first let's just burn in some of the detailing on our tree, literally by just using the burn tool, like so, to make it more darker at the bottom. That's worked quite well. Then we could get the lasso tool, feather it very slightly. Just select this rough element here and just slightly fade it out just by deleting, like so. Now that's going to hopefully look like it's sitting in the grass in the background. So let's get rid of the tractor, and then we're pretty much done with the actual editing of the image, and then we're just going to make some slight color correction and show you how adjustment layers work. So again, using the clone tool on our original layer where the tractor is, we select the horizon of the grass, and we're just going to go over the tractor's path or wherever it's sat, and we're going to just go straight across. Keep going. If you keep pointing your source, you can then get longer runs, so you can extend the run that you're copying. Then you can just do the sky very quickly. In fact, the bigger the size head we do on the sky, the more faded it will be, so you might want to change the size of your brush to do that. Clone out the tractor just like so, And then we can zoom back out. We've removed the tractor from behind the tree. Let's show you how to change colours and levels and saturation, things like that, to create a kind of film-like or almost HDR style colouring of the file. First, we're going to crop it using the crop tool. We just dragged along where we want to keep. That's all fine. If we were happy with that edit and we were going to try and save a bit of space, we could merge all of the layers into one. Then you'll notice we're going to use the adjustment layers to do this, because these maintain editability of the actual effects we're applying. So we're going to apply some brightness and contrast tweaks. We're going to up the brightness very slightly, up the contrast, so we're creating a more contrasty image. You'll notice that looks like it's almost got a film applied over the top of the image, whereas this one makes it more punchy. So you want to find a level where you're a little bit happier with it. Play around with the brightness and the contrast. Then you'll notice it's actually made a layer here, which we can edit by just clicking on, but you can work it as a normal layer, reposition it, you can toggle it on and off, and you can also change the blending modes. Clicking back here will allow us to go back to this panel where we can add some levels to our image. We can auto level the image, which is Photoshop's way of working out what levels the photograph should be, but then we can also manually tweak them just to give them a bit more punch, a little bit more of impact. And you can see there it's kind of like a really contrasty film look. So that's pretty decent. That's what we were aiming for. If we were to move those two adjustments we've made, you see the midtones and the highlights and the shadows all appear to have a sort of film, as if they were mucky almost, the colours. Whereas when we apply this, sharpens it up, makes the colours brighter, much punchier and much stronger. So it's been a mammoth lesson today, but what have we learned? Well, we've looked at how to use the clone tool, selection tools and erasers tool to be used in a practical sense on photographs and editing photographs. We've also considered blending modes in practice. And your task for the lesson is to use the theories that we've shown you in this lesson to find a photograph you wish to edit and manipulate the photograph in some sort of way. Next time on 30 Days to Learn Photoshop, we'll be looking at filters. Thanks for listening.